Hello, my friend.
G'day, mate. How are we today?
I'm good. Sorry, I'm a little late. I fired up the old computer and it gave me a big old Windows update right at the critical moment.
No, I had a feeling that could have been it because I remember shutting down my computer last night going update. I was like, oh, I'm glad I'm doing that now because I'm shocking for that, especially for work.
Oh, it's the worst, man. I fired it all up early this morning and then I like went and had a shower or whatever and came back and it was just like all black screen. I'm like, no, no, not now.
No,
Anyway, we're
it's
here.
all,
We're here.
yeah, we're here. That's the important part, but that's okay. Look, I can excuse 3 minutes. I think I'll live. I think I'll live at the end of the day.
Appreciate that.
No, but Eli, it's a pleasure to have you here, mate. You've got to be pumped now. The album is finally out. How's the kind of reception? How's the world in the Band of Life pilot at the moment?
Oh, mate, it's great. It's really good. We're feeling really excited about, the feedback that we've been getting. I mean, we've been sitting on this record for a long time, so, in our mind it's like, that's just the state of life pilot, like
Yeah.
we've got an album, cool, we've been listening to it forever, no worries, but putting it out into the world and hearing people's reaction to it and, getting people excited about what we've been excited about for so long is really awesome. And, the feedback's been amazing. Like anytime you put something out and people seem to enjoy it, it's obviously like, oh, good. All that stressing and time and effort and money and everything we put into this, good. It was worthwhile. People are actually enjoying the art that we make because we enjoy it, but you never know until it's out there in the world.
No, that's exactly right. And it's good to, not have a hide Dropbox link anymore. You know what I mean? You don't need to worry
Oh,
about that getting
yeah.
out.
The Dropbox got to work out this time round, that's for sure. Demo number 12, revision 15, blah, blah, blah.
Hey, look, at the end of the day, it sounds amazing. The production quality on this is fantastic. And I love the music videos as well. Though they go a bit from one end of the totem to the other end of the totem. You watch, Mayflower or The Nerve, which is personally my favorite one. Like, what was
Excellent.
yeah, there's nothing better than silly, stupid Australian Aussie humor. I just think that is the best. That's why I'm a big Auntie Donna fan. It's just
Oh, yeah.
dumb fun. Like, what led you to do that one? Because I love how long it took to actually get to the song. Like, I forgot I had on a music video by the time it reached the
Yes.
actual song, which is great. It scared shit out of me. I'm not going to lie because I had the volume right up.
Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. No, that was definitely something that I think we were trying to achieve is we wanted it to feel like a skit. Like you mentioned, Arnie Donna. I mean, we love sketch comedy. Like, like the people that we are in the band, we're just idiots. Like we just have so many stupid inside jokes and so many references. And our shows, we try to like, bring a bit of that humor in there while keeping it, serious, chaotic metalcore stuff. But like as people, we're jokes. So we were just like, well, let's lean into that and let's let people know a little bit more about what our life is like sitting in the back of, a tour van and arguing with venue managers and just, the inane conversations that go on in the back of the van. And, it was fun, but like, man, I tell you what, we actually had a 30-minute cut of that video at one
Oh, really?
point that like and Nick, our bass player who's been doing all our videos on this album, it was just like, dude, like this is turning into like a feature-length movie. Like, I don't know if like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this done. Like, this is crazy. But it was cool. Like it was really fun. Like we just want to do something silly. We've done some silly clips in the past, like our video for Dark Dark Goose, which was like a mystical tale of our guitarist taking the bins out through a Narnia-esque dreamscape. Like, that was
Yeah.
one of those things that people were just like, what the we've never seen anyone do anything like this. And we went, all right, well let's keep pushing that, let's see what else we can do. But yeah, we're just a bunch of funny guys.
Yeah, that's it at the end of the day. Maybe one day you'll eventually release the 30-minute cut, put it in black and white, call it the Snyder cut at the end of the day.
Well, I don't think the 30-minute cut was actually very good, is the thing. So, but it would be the Snyder cut in
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
in that sense.
Well, you just got to put some slow mo in there, and then you find slow
Yeah,
mo fixes everything. That's it.
exactly, exactly. Eats up a few more seconds. It's great. It's great.
It's good that you kind of mentioned that you're just silly boys, and I think that's just Australian musicians in general because like the music does not sound silly at the end of the day. It sounds aggressive and emotional. Like I can think of other bands that do it, like Amity Parkway. All these Australian metalcore bands go out there. People are like, oh, they're so deep, but you meet any of you guys, you meet any Australian, they're like, oh, they're just a bunch of fucking idiots at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where that comes from, I guess, but you're right. Like every, band that I meet, like there's always just this element of like, I don't know, we just don't take ourselves too seriously as a people, which I think is good because I
Mm.
mean, man, like it can easily get a bit contrived and you can kind of become that like stage persona in real life, and not throwing anyone in any particular world under the bus, but I certainly feel like with a lot of the American bands who like I think maybe they have to embody that like
Mm.
person that they put out there. That must be tiring, man. I mean, maybe they are just that person in real life, and that's cool or whatever. But I think culturally, we're a little bit more laid back, and we're happy to just have a laugh and not take it too seriously. And makes life easy when you can laugh at stuff.
Exactly, exactly. And now let's flip it to the other end of the spectrum on this one, because then you've gone and filmed a video inside like a asylum for the criminally insane. How'd that come along? Like, was that important to have the light and day in the music videos to come through, or was it just the opportunity presented
Yeah,
itself?
we just wanted to kind of treat each song, I guess, in the manner that best befit it. So, we
Mm,
were talking about the Nerve before, and that's much more of a like, fun, chaotic, like, thrill ride of a tune.
yeah.
And, to us, it made more sense to do something a little cheeky with it. And then, a song like Feeding an Illness or Mayflower, like they're a little more poignant, they're a little bit more dark and serious and a little bit more, sort of brooding. So we went, well, let's pick an environment and a music video that suits. And we kicked around a few ideas for the Feeding an Illness clip, and then eventually we settled on, this idea of, following the story of a woman who's sort of like addicted to the darkness and to the night terrors that are in it, which is a big theme throughout the record. And, when we were thinking of locations, like, we have this incredible historic building in Adelaide, the Glenside Asylum for the Criminally Insane, which was running through the 1800s and housed people that were just too wacky for society, and like it's creepy being in there. They have ghost tours and stuff go
Oh
through
wow.
there, and we actually had a ghost tour come in right after our music video. And the lady that we handed the keys to at the end of the shoot, here you go, enjoy the ghost tour. She contacted us the next day and she was like, I don't know what the fuck you guys did, but we had more paranormal activity that night than we've ever had. Like, you guys are welcome back anytime. So obviously, like, we rattled the ghosts' cages a bit, being in there playing the song over and over again, making some noise. But it was cool. It's such a crazy, creepy room, and yeah, we really actually enjoyed it. It was very fun.
That's cool. And I love that you kind of can pick up on the vibes, because whether you're a believer in like ghosts or anything like that, as soon as someone says something's haunted and you go into a place that's got a lot of history, you can feel the vibe, man. It doesn't matter if something's
Oh yeah.
haunted or not. The vibe is there. And I think it translates through, because you flip from watching The Nerve to that music video, and it's kind of like, oh, damn, man. Like, it is really like night and day. So well done. Like, it's really well crafted, really well shot. So yeah, well done on that one.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll tell Nick that you said it was well shot, because that was the first music video he ever made for us.
Oh,
He's
there you
been,
go.
yeah, he's been working with, some video stuff, up till now. And he really like took it upon himself this album. He was like, I really want to like craft the visuals for this record. I really want to make these videos and bring these ideas to life. And I've been so impressed with the stuff that he's done. I mean, we've always had a really big DIY ethic in our band. I mean, we
Yeah.
recorded everything on the record ourselves. The only thing we outsourced was the mix and master. So to then bring it around to, all the album art was done by our singer, all the videos were done by our bass player. It's like everything that you're hearing and seeing is completely self-generated. We don't outsource a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
which is time consuming, but like we really enjoy it because we get more control over like what is put out there. The story of Life Pilot and the visual of Life Pilot is very much us. So yeah, I'll tell him he said that.
No, good, good. It's one of those things too, like doing everything yourself. When you finally release it, it's kind of like a project of love and passion at the end of the day. There's not been extra hands in the cookie jar kind of changing things where you go, oh, I kind of liked how I originally did this more, but, producer
Yeah,
XYZ said I need to do this, and I don't know if I
yeah.
really feel that. So it's how long did it take to actually put this album together? Because it's been a while coming, and you did kind of hint at it a bit earlier. So I'm curious, are we talking, did this start pre-pandemic, or is it more of a post-pandemic on this one?
Okay, so the initial seed idea was pre-pandemic. We
Wow.
finished the Pretty Like a Pistol tour December 2019, and we took a couple weeks off over Christmas, and then we were like, right, what are we doing for 2020? Like, what's the plan? And we'd had a bunch of people in our ear over like the 2019 period while we were like touring a bunch of singles, being like, look, you guys have never done a full-length album. Like,
Mm,
what's going on? And we've talked about it for ages, but everyone had always been saying, oh, the meta is singles and short releases because no one has the attention span. And a lot of us in the band, I mean, we grew up in the era of the album, right? Like to us, an album is a statement piece for a band, and it legitimizes you, I think, in a certain way. And we've always wanted to do that, but there's just been so much like weird industry stuff about doing that as a smaller band.
mm.
So we just went like, oh fuck it, we're gonna do it. And then, of course, the world exploded. And that was pretty bad timing.
Yeah.
So we hadn't even really started writing yet. I mean, Pretty Like a Pistol, the previous single, was actually meant to be on the record, but by the time that things were moving again, it was like too long to worry about it. But when the pandemic hit, we were all like sole traders. I'm a drum teacher,
Yeah.
musician, session musician. Our singer had literally just quit his job to be a full-time artist, and like that was a bad time to do
Yeah.
that. We had other, sole traders in the band. So like all of a sudden we were like, we have no money. We don't know where we're paying our rent. Like the world's fucked. The band's like the last thing we need to think about because no one can play any shows. So everything just kind of got put on pause for a while.
Yeah.
And then we came back to it maybe like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 12 months later. And we're like, right, what are we doing? Should we start writing? Things are starting to like kind of maybe come back. We played a show from time to time, and we went, let's actually start writing and just see what happens. Maybe we'll just do some singles, maybe do whatever. And at a certain point, like the time to release the record or a single or something had passed, and we were like,
Mm.
let's not rush it. Let's just make the record we want to make. And around that time, I had to move my business to a different studio. And I was like, well, let me get a space that I can set up as a recording studio. So we,
Yeah.
we essentially built a recording studio to make this record. And, then it was like, right, let's do it. So just piece by piece, we did it. So the recording process was pretty protracted because we didn't just block out a length of time to do it.
Yeah.
But that meant that we could kind of like get it right. We'd do some drums, listen back and go like, oh, actually, maybe we want to change this. And until we were like really happy with, especially the first song, which oddly enough was Feeding an Illness, was the first track that we
Oh, there you
recorded for
go.
this. It was like the test run. Yeah, we like settled on everything. It was all good. And then we're like, okay, cool, let's punch out the rest of it. So it took a while, but like we think it was worth it, and we honestly couldn't have done it any other way, just with the way of the world and where we were at economically as people, We had
Yeah.
to get our houses in order first.
No, and what you've done, which I find brilliant on this, and I think it's the hardest thing for people to do, and a good artist can do it, but a lot of the time there's a difference between heavy and aggressive, and you manage to capture that live like essence of aggression into this record as well, because I think that's the hardest thing, because you can bring a record to a live show, but bringing a live show to a record, I feel, is one of the hardest things you can do, to keep that energy of like, okay, we're in a pub or we're in a club, whatever it is, everyone's bouncing off the walls. We're bouncing off the walls. Of course, they're bouncing off the walls. How do you go
Yeah,
about capturing that, putting it on? Because some bands can do it. I think Slipknot are probably one of the best bands to ever do that back in the day for
absolutely.
the first two albums in
Yeah,
particular.
yeah.
And their boys, Vended, actually are pretty good at doing it too. But how do you guys go around it? Like, because you did manage to harness that.
That's awesome. That's really great to hear, because that was definitely something that we wanted to do.
Mm.
Like we kind of reflected on like some of the outcomes of the recordings that we'd done previously, because we've had some pretty bad luck with some of our recordings.
Yeah.
Just save you the stories, but a few of them, like we've actually had to end up mixing them ourselves, which is just like that
Not
sucks.
fun.
If you don't have a professional engineer in the band, you're like, oh, this is, or should we even be doing this? But the records of ours that we liked the sound of the most were a combination of like, obviously, good sounding. You can hear everything. It's like punchy and aggressive. But like you say, there's that difference between heavy and aggressive.
Yeah.
Some of the good sounding records out there are very heavy, but they don't capture that like, oh my God, I want to put my head through a wall kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And we had this EP that we did back in 2013 that was like, we tracked it live, and the recording is like pretty scratchy and all the rest, but the mix on it, it just has all of that like power that you get when you watch, hopefully when you watch us live, but when you watch a band that has that energy.
Mm.
So we were kind of like, let's take a little bit of that. We didn't track a lot of this live, but what we did try to do was not like edit everything to hell, which is such a thing in metalcore, is everything just gets smashed to the grid. And there's a lot of that there. We wanted it to sound competitive, but we didn't want to kill it.
Yeah.
So we made sure that everything that we were doing was real and authentic. We're using real drums.
Mm.
Sure, maybe there's some samples on there, but it's like it's 99% fucking real, and
Yeah.
that it's all real guitars mic'd with a real mic. Like we just wanted to bring the real in there, keep some ugly feedback and all this sort of stuff. Like just not like make it too perfect, because I think that's where you lose the aggression. You lose
Mhm.
that human factor in it. And I got to give a massive shout out to Declan White, who engineered this. He is probably the only person that we trust to do things that, that isn't immediately someone in the band. He mixed Pretty Like a Pistol for us back in 2019, and we just went like, yeah, that's the best we've ever sounded. So of course he's the guy to do the record, and he really helped us out. And he went back on a million revisions for us because we were picky about certain things. But he nailed it. Like
Yeah.
he got what we were after. He knew we wanted it to be ugly in a way, but also like, modern. It needed to feel real, and he nailed it. He really is a fantastic engineer.
Yeah, no, and it's just kind of interesting that you mentioned it because metalcore has become this thing that it is so perfect and smooth and everything, but you got to have some ugliness in it because the ugliness is what makes us human.
Yeah.
Imperfections are kind of what makes everyone unique at the end of the day. Otherwise, everything can be perfect, but like it's boring, man. You can't chuck a filter over everything.
No, that's right. And also for a band, it creates a challenge too. Of then if you go out and you play it and you don't sound perfect, because
Mm,
no one sounds perfect, then everyone goes, "Oh, that was a bit disappointing."
yeah,
So it's not just it's just like treading that fine line between like your music is your product and you want your product to be as good as possible, so more people can latch onto it and go, "This is great," and we can all buy Teslas. Well, not anymore, but a a hybrid vehicle of some
yes,
kind. But like I mean, that doesn't happen in metalcore anyway. No one's making any money.
yeah, no,
But the reality of like you want people to get it, but then you also want to be able to go and play it live and be authentic to that, and it's very hard to do that. Like there's only so many bands I can think of that like actually manage to pull off how they sound on record live,
mm,
and that's a short list. That's a very short list. So for us, like we're not playing massive festivals. We don't get to take, an amazing mix engineer on tour with us. We don't
yeah,
do our whole show to a laptop with insane programming and stuff. To us it's like it's just like it's a rock and roll show.
yeah.
So we got to make sure that whatever we're doing, it can still be done as a rock and roll show, and people can enjoy it and access it and walk away from that going like, yeah, cool, that sounded like the record,
Yeah.
sort of.
And look, yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, not everyone can have that bad omens budget where they've reached that point
Mm,
where they can kind of sound like what they're putting out because their earlier stuff did not sound like that. So it's just one of those things.
exactly.
And I'm going to talk about your shirt too because I have seen Sleep Token live, and they're one of those bands that do not sound perfect live compared to what they are on the album.
Yeah.
Fantastic still, but they fill it out with a lot of things. What are some influences for you? And actually, what do you think about Caramel? Because two absolutely went off on that track as well.
Man, he's such a good drummer.
Yeah.
He is such a good drummer. I spend a lot of time talking about two, like, because I'm a drum teacher for a job, and like, man, he is like really. I think my generation of drummer, like, there's always someone who brings people to the drums. There's some like incredible
Mm,
talent who kind of breaks through the drummer world and the musician world, and then gets into like the regular world, and all of a sudden, brings people onto the instrument. And my era was like Travis Barker,
yeah.
and previously be like Lars and all these other guys. Two is 1000% that guy. I have so many people, like new students, come to me and I go, what got you into the drums? And they go, oh, I listened to Sleep Token once and was like, what is happening? So yeah, amazing. So yeah, he's an incredible drummer. I mean, for us, influence wise, like I know the obvious ones for us are Norma Jean, The Chariot,
Yeah.
Converge, Every Time I Die, all those classic sort of, American metalcore bands that have that like dirty Southern sound to them. That's what spawned this band.
Yeah.
But definitely, like we actually pulled a lot of influence from like Loathe on this record,
Oh, okay.
and a lot of George Lever's production. Like, that band is really cool in that they also, I think, do that thing where they have like some absolutely messed up, like heavy, raw, aggressive shit, and then it'll be like a song like Two Way Mirror, which is beautiful, and
Yeah.
you're like, is this the same band? That was actually what I had when I first listened to that band. I was like, oh my God, Two Way Mirror, beautiful. It's like kind of like Deftones, but a bit not. And then I listened to the record and I was like, is this the same band? Like, what? So yeah, like we definitely looked at a bit of that. Under Oath is a huge influence for
Mm,
us as well. They always will be. So, there are a few references like that. But at the same time, we just wanted to make the record that we wanted to make. And that can only be done by just taking one step at a time and seeing what comes out of us. So, yeah, we took influence, but definitely wanted to just let it come out naturally.
yeah, just there, proof's in the pudding at the end of the day. What you've done is what you've done. And speaking of that, the album is out now and you're just about to go tour. Have you kind of held off on playing a bunch of these songs live, or have you already kind of played them throughout the years, or did you save some for this tour?
We've definitely saved a lot for the tour.
Yeah.
We did a few test runs. We haven't played a ton over the last like couple of years, and by design, we wanted to focus on the record.
Hmm.
We just sort of did a few things when it felt right. Like we did like a regional thing around South Australia end of last year just to kind of get out and see some places in our own state that we actually hadn't been to and kind of, I guess activate a bit of a fan base out there if we could. And we used that as a bit of a testing ground for some of these like new songs.
Yeah.
So we've been playing maybe like two or three of them in the set here and there. And we kind of mix it up and try them out differently and see which ones work and which ones maybe not as much. The problem is that they all seem to work live. And now we have a problem of like how do you fit all of these songs on the record that we love and they all sound cool live and they're really fun to play, plus all the songs that people know of ours and
Yeah.
like it's we're getting to that point where we're like, man, do we need to start playing for an hour? And then we look at the way that we play our set and we go, we can't do that. Like, we'll die. So yeah, but we've definitely like brought up a few other songs for this tour. We actually had rehearsal last night. We ran the set in full, just for the first time to be like, what is the show like now? And I think there are the whole set is new songs bar three.
Ah.
So yeah, it's mostly new stuff, except for a couple old favorites that always get the crowd moving that we love to play. And then yeah, the rest of it's new stuff. And then the Adelaide show of the tour, the hometown show, we are doing the record front to back,
Oh yeah.
which is very exciting. We've never done that before, so we finally had a body of work long enough to be like, yeah, let's do that. So yeah, that'll be fun.
And it's good too because the album is evenly paced, so it's not front loaded. I remember all those early 2000s metalcore bands, funny enough, in particular, they'd front load all the album and then towards the end,
Yeah.
there's nothing. I remember Trivium and Bullet from a Valentine, this tour, were talking about going, oh, we did this during the iTunes era where all the singles are the first five
Yeah.
songs and all the B-sides are the rest of the album. So at least you're not going to run into that problem at the end of the day.
Yeah, we were very conscious of the flow of the record. Like,
Yeah.
again, we're talking about the meta of releasing stuff in the Spotify era, and everyone's saying, "Oh, you got to put all your singles up the front and blah blah blah." And it's like, well, I get that. Like, I mean, the record's out now. We look at the streams, and you can see the sort of the waterfall of numbers. The first ones get way more than the end ones. People just don't have the attention span, but at a certain point you go like, well, how much do we as artists have to pander to the meta of the medium to make our art? Like,
Yeah.
we want to make a record like we grew up listening to that was inspirational, where songs flow together, where there's chapters of the record where it's not just six bangers and then a bunch of weird songs that no one cares about. We wanted it to feel like there's a story going through this. There's like connectivity between them. We agonized about that track order for like a long time.
Yeah.
So for us, it was definitely something we designed, and I think as a result, then when looking at playing it as a live show, you go, oh, well, I know this is going to work because we spent time doing that. Whereas if they were just like 12 singles thrown in some sort of haphazard order, you'd be like, oh god, this might need to move these around a little bit. So yeah, it was definitely something that was thought about.
Smart. And in the an era where vinyl has become popular again and people buy vinyl records and you've got to flip that thing, you don't want everything to be on one side and then no one ever listens to side B. You know what I mean? So it is important.
Exactly.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No, well, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. Thank you for joining me on a Saturday morning. Sorry to wake you up early. I forget you guys are half an hour behind me as well, so I apologize for that.
You're very welcome, my friend. It was a pleasure.
No. Is there anything you want to say to the people before I let you go, though?
Hey, if you're listening and you want to come and see us play some shows, we're going to be touring all through April and May. We're going to be all over the East Coast and Adelaide. And yeah, please come down, see a show. Bring a crash helmet because sometimes things can get rowdy. And yeah, say hello to us at the merch stand and yeah, tell us what you think about the album. That would be amazing.
Wonderful. Well, I'll have the tour link and tickets and dates and everything in the comments below. But Eli, it's been an absolute pleasure. Enjoy your weekend, my friend.
Thank you so much. You too, my friend.
Cheers, dude.